The Lover's Pentacle 1, Chapter 8, The Wheel of Fortune. Bruno, stop being a gentleman and fuck me already, commanded Karina. As you wish, said Bruno, embracing Karina. The two only got as far as third base, and just when Karina was finally enjoying herself, a scream in the darkness totally killed the mood. Kain let the water carrying Eugenia, who was in tears, and for a moment Karina thought that Eugenia had been bitten by a shark. In the darkness, Karina couldn't tell what was wrong, and Bruno picked up the clothing and purses that had been left behind, and with the baggage out of the way, the four of them made their way back to their limousine. It burns, protested Eugenia. Somebody do something. Kain, stumbling back, fell on something hard on the sand, and this hard object made a clicking sound, and thus hinting to the fact that Kain had sat on a broken bottle. Bruno, who was the only person that was somewhat sober, picked up Eugenia to allow Kain to rise to his feet, and in a whining tone, a drunk Kain said while shaking Karina by the elbow, "My ass hurts. Do something, Karina." "One problem at a time," said Karina. "First, let's make it back to the limousine." The four of them made it out of the darkness, and under the hail of the street light, Karina saw what was wrong with Eugenia. She had been stung by a jellyfish. Karina brought out a tweezer from within her purse, and she removed from Eugenia's back the long piece of tentacle. And based on the shape of the tentacle, the poor maiden had been attacked by a Portuguese man of war. "Should I pee on it?" asked Bruno, seeing the sting. "No, don't be stupid," protested Karina. "Just give me some hot water and let's get inside the car." "Karina, I need help too," protested Kain, crying. Karina went to see about Kain, and the back of his undergarment was bloody, and when she removed it, she saw a piece of glass embedded on his left caboose. Karina removed the piece, and she sprayed some hand sanitizer over the tiny wound, and this was going to have to do for now. The driver awoke, and he drove his horse towards the nearest CVS to get hot water and some medicine. And with the hot water, Karina was able to treat Eugenia's jellyfish wound, and she gave a painkiller to Eugenia, and she was added some antiseptic ointment on her back. Karina wrote down some instructions for Eugenia, and she then handed it to the driver. Kain's wound required 2 medical tapes in order for it to close up the gap, and once the patients were taken care of, the party made their way back home. The patients were lying down waiting for the pain and the dizziness to pass, and to cope with the sting, Eugenia had brought out the tequila from the cooler, and she proceeded to get even more hammered with the hope that it would cure her of the pain. "Impressive," said Bruno, giving a true smile. "What is impressive?" asked Karina, smiling coyly. "You are impressive, Karina," said Bruno before praising Karina's skills as a doctor. Flattery will get you everywhere, mister," said Karina, giggling. The limousine arrived at Karina's house, and Bruno said, "I am going to take these two to their bed, and we can pick up where we left off tomorrow." Karina kissed Bruno, and she said, "Tomorrow it is then." The next stop was Kain's house, and Bruno placed his coat over Kain's shoulder, and after fumbling with the keys, he was able to open the front door. The alarm sounded, and thus waking Jack up, and he ran to the door with a bat, and he went to bash the head of the intruder. And before he got a chance to do so, Kain's hand reached for the light switch. "What did you do to my son?" protested Jack, still holding the metal bat. He drank a little too much," said Bruno, unprepared for such hostile reception. "And then he went night swimming." "It's fine, Dad," said Kain, trying to stand on his own 2 feet. Between the two of them, they got Kain into the bathroom, and Kain turned on the shower in order to wash away the seawater. When Bruno became certain that Kain was going to be alright, he returned to the limousine to deliver Eugenia home. The cold shower helped Kain recover some of his senses, and he entered his bowels on the shower. He had forgotten to turn off the shower. Forgetting to turn off the shower, he left the bathroom completely in the nude. And trembling in the darkness, Kain said, "Dad, can you get me a towel?" Jack was already ready with the towels, and he tried to dry Kain's as quickly as possible, and he wrapped a towel over his head. As soon as Kain's head touched the pillow, he immediately fell asleep. Jack went to the bathroom to tidy up, and he frowned when he saw the blood droplets on the floor. And Kain's wound had reopened during the car ride, and he had fixed the stitches while he bathed, and before returning to the bed. The blood droplets didn't inspire Jack much confidence, and he picked up the bloody undergarment and he shoved it in the garbage can. Once everything in the bathroom was clean, Jack went to see about his son, and Kain had a happy smile painted on his lips. The following morning came, and Kain awoke with a serious hangover, and he looked at the clock, and he found, seeing that it was almost noon, and he found by his nightstand a can of coconut water, a banana, and a Tylenol. Kain guessed that this was his father's home remedy for a hangover. After drinking the water and eating the banana, he felt as if life was returning to his sore limbs. The medicine also helped, and while he ate, he looked to the photos he had taken with his new digital camera. He laughed seeing all of the nudie photos he had taken, and he saved all of the photos on his computer, and then he sent to Karina all of the tasteful photos he had taken of his friends and the show. In the photograph, he saw that he had gone to the beach, and he didn't remember going swimming in the ocean, nor did he remember kissing Eugenia. And he smiled as he remembered all the bits and pieces of the night before. And since he was feeling better, he decided to show up for work. And Ken went to the driveway, and he frowned when he remembered that his patrol car had gone up in smoke. And without his father home, he needed somebody to give him a ride. And his first instinct was to bother Karina, but he felt that he had abused her kindness enough. And after hesitating, Ken called off his father, Jack. "Dad, I need a ride to work," said Ken. "Maybe you should continue resting," said Jack, answering. "And you do not know how awful you look when you came home last night." "Was it that bad?" asked Ken. Jack lowered his voice, and then he said, "You came home with in your undergarments completely covered in sand and blood, and I was worried sick about you. Karina's new boyfriend played a mean prank on me, and I asked him to suggest me a low-alcohol drink, but he did the complete opposite." "We got super wasted, Dad, and after the show we went night swimming in a shark-infested water," said Kate, giggling as he remembered more of the night before, and he added, turning serious, "I think one of us got bit, I don't remember who, and thank God Karina was there to provide first aid." And Jack said, "If you had a crazy night, that is more the reason for you to rest." "I feel fine," said Ken. "If you're not going to take me to work, I will just call someone else." "Have it your way, son," said Jack, "and I will pick you up right about now. Boss, I'm taking my lunch break now." Ken waited 20 minutes, and it was convenient that his father worked so close to home. And during the drive to the police station, Ken ranted about what he remembered of the show. And the two were going to look to the photos after work, and at a certain point, Jack asked Kain about his date, and the two had a hearty laugh over the misunderstanding. "Whether you choose to be with Eugenia or Eugenia, you have your father's support," said Jack, still giggling. "Don't even joke about that, Dad," said Kain. "And you know how people are." "Yeah," said Jack sadly. "I need to make a lot of calls to tell them that it was a false alarm." "Don't bother," said Kain. "Let them think whatever they want about me." "But Kain," protested Jack. "Fine, for the sake of peace, I'm going to send you this photo you can forward to Grandma and anyone else who doubts my masculinity," said Kain, sending a photo of himself and Eugenia. Jack looked at the photograph of Eugenia and he began to drool, and when the two arrived at the police station, there was a PR event. Eugenia's father was there with a big check donation for the men in blue. Jack drove to his work while Kain went to his office to clock in a few hours of work. And while he was busy with paperwork, Eugenia entered with her father into the police station. Ken was giving their benefactor a tour, and he was explaining to them how they were going to use the money they had donated. Eugenia smiled when she saw Ken. "Good afternoon, Ken," said Eugenia. "You actually made it to work today." "Barely," said Ken. "My skull is split in two, but other than that, I am more or less in one piece." "I was thinking that maybe after work we can pick up where we left off," said Eugenia, smiling coyly. "Truth be told, I only agreed to be to your date because your Karina pressured me into it," said Ken. "Oh, bother, so I'm not your type," asked Eugenia. "You are a very beautiful woman," said Ken, stating a fact. "And what little I remember of last night was quite amusing." "How old are you, Ken?" asked Eugenia. "I just turned 23 recently," said Ken. "Then why do you talk like a little old man?" asked Eugenia. "I was mostly raised by my grandparents," explained Ken. "Mostly, and before your grandparents who raised you," asked Eugenia. "I lived for 2 years with my Uncle Nathan, but then he got a job offer he couldn't refuse, so he dumped me with my grandparents, and before Nathan I lived with Uncle Gen until his son was born, and before Uncle Gen I lived with Aunt Elizabeth for 5 months, and I spent a year with an old lady whose name I don't remember," said Ken. "And before that old lady I lived with my parents." "Wow, and I thought my family sucked," said Eugenia, smiling warmly. "After my mother died, I saw an endless parade of secretaries that my father insisted I call mother." Eunice is the only one that stayed, and mainly it was because she got pregnant. I truly wish you wouldn't narrate our dirty laundry to every degenerate you meet, said Michael, butting into the conversation. Dad, you know Kain, said Eugenia. He's the nice police officer who arrested me. Right, your date, said Michael. The one who couldn't bother to escort you home. It is hard to escort someone when you can barely walk yourself, retorted Kain. Great, just wonderful, yelled Michael. Now instead of a drug dealer, you are dating a drunkard. But I suppose I should consider this an upgrade. With the gloves drawn, Eugenia began to bicker with her father, completely oblivious to all who were watching. And as soon as they heard the clicking of the camera, they settled down to continue their argument in the privacy of their home. The two left in a huff, both going their separate ways in separate cars. And with the distraction gone, Kain returned to his paperwork. And just when he was finally making progress, he had a new interruption. Is this yours? Asked the reporter, holding a sketchbook with the book binding partway burned off. Yes, it is, said Kain, recovering his sketchbook. I was afraid it had gone up in smoke with my patrol car. If you have artistic tendencies, why did you become a police officer? Asked the reporter, sitting down before Kain. He was looking for a bit of a fluff piece, and interviewing an artist police officer who almost went up in smoke seemed like an easy topic. And you are? Asked Kain. I am Alexia. I am a reporter, said Alexia, age 25. His true name was Alexander Warren, but he preferred to be called Alexia. He also preferred to wear a woman's dress when not working, and at night he preferred the company of men. He had a medium build, dyed blonde hair, and the type of boring face one never gives a second glance to. Nice to meet you, Alexia, said Kain, shaking his hand, and thank you for recovering my sketchbook, but I have a lot of work to do. I have something else for you, said Alexia, digging into his satchel, and he brought out a yearbook. We went to high school together, and we were in the same journalism class. Do you remember me? Not really, said Kain, being honest. I only took the class because all of the other electives I had chosen were full. It figured that you wouldn't remember me. We only spoke whenever we had to collaborate on an assignment. I want to interview you, Kain, said Alexia. The way he said the name Kain had an almost silky inflection to it. Kain. Why? Asked Kain. I haven't done anything with my life worth knowing, and if you want to get to know a real hero, go to bother Detective Farley. Kain brought out his headset and he played Korn at full volume, and the music drowned out the noise of the world. And if it wasn't for his Uncle Glenn, Kain would have easily stayed there working till the following morning. The two chatted a bit about last night's date, and he insisted on getting all of the sordid details. Sadly, Kain remembered very little the night before. I know that your new girlfriend is a hot piece of ass, but don't let her pressure you into becoming a drunkard, said Glenn sternly. I didn't mean to drink so much, said Kain. It won't happen again. It better not happen again, said Glenn sternly. In other news, we're having a little get-together this Saturday to celebrate Mom's birthday. Everyone's going to be there, and you can bring your new girlfriend over, but only if she promises to behave. Or we could just not invite her, said Kain. This is a family affair, after all. Too late, said Gant. I already invited her. And you hit the jackpot, Kain. Eugenia is hot and rich. Good things are finally coming your way. Kain sighed with frustration, and then he didn't want anything to do with Eugenia, but the entire world was conspiring to ram her down his throat. And before departing, Gant gave the keys to Kain's new car. Kain went to the new car and he tried it on for size, and he circled around the parking lot a bit before driving home, and he stopped at a red light, and when the light turned green, something unexpected happened. He started suffering from shortness of breath, and this was followed by heart palpitations, and with a trembling hand, Kain called Karina. When she didn't answer, he called Unla. Unla always had her phone nearby for her patient who sometimes called her at all hours of the night. Unla only needed to hear Kain's breathing to guess what was happening to him. Together the deep breathing exercises till the panic attack passed. Because don't forget that, like early in the book, like Kain got like T-boned by a car and he almost died. So then like he's having bad flashbacks of a terrible accident where he almost went up in smoke. He tried to get past the street, but he wasn't able to. Instead, he turned towards a nearby gas station, and he called his father and he told him that his new car had broken down, and he needed a ride home. Once Kain was in the safety and security of his house, he breathed in a sigh of relief. Kain gave himself a cat bath, and then he started making dinner, and sitting down in the living room waiting for his food was Jack, and he was busy watching reruns of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Unla called, and she told me about your panic attack. I guess the HIPAA laws don't mean anything to her, said Kain while seasoning the chicken. Those laws only apply to official patients, reasoned Jack, and it is not as if she has your medical record. If she did, she would probably suggest I spend some time in a madhouse, said Kain, starting to fry the chicken. Still, it is refreshing to see a doctor that really cares about the well-being of others. True doctors are few and far between, said Jack, agreeing with his son, and he sighed for a moment before saying, and what's going to happen if you're never able to drive again? I went an entire week without driving, and it didn't change anything about my life, said Kain. Driving a car is about having freedom, Kain, insisted Jack. Freedom to do what exactly? Asked Kain dryly. Dinner's ready, by the way. The topic died as soon as the food was served, and Jack ranted about selling his first car, and once dinner was concluded, the two settled down to watch television. And at a certain point, Kain said, I'm going to sleep around 10, and if you want to practice the guitar a bit before going to bed, I don't really mind. But then you won't be able to watch television, said Jack meekly. I can play video games instead, or I can read a book, or I can draw. Unlike you, I have more than one hobby, said Kain coldly. For me, it isn't a hobby. Playing the guitar makes me happy, and when I play music, all of the problems in the world are away. And guess why doesn't let me play the guitar when the kids are around, and she doesn't want her children to follow in my footsteps, and whenever Ken isn't around, she treats me like a piece of furniture, vented Jack. That frosty bitch hates everyone that didn't come out of her vagina, said Kain, laughing. The two bonded over the mutual disdain of Ken's wife, Stacy, and the following day came, and Jack drove his son to work after their morning routine. And while Kain was busy with his paperwork, Jack went to speak to Ken about how to help Kain get past his trauma. And Una suggested for Kain to do exposure therapy to treat his anxiety. I don't know, Jackie, said Ken. Your son is allergic to therapy. But he trusts Una, and when he wasn't feeling well, he called her first, said Jack. So maybe she can give him the help he so desperately needs. I don't know, Jackie, said Ken, sighing. And maybe she can give him therapy without him knowing that he's seeing a therapist, suggested Jack, trying to be clever. I don't know, maybe, said Ken. I don't know, Jackie, I don't know. Jack's watch began to beep and he needed to head back to work. I need to go, now text me when you finally do know. Look at you, being finally responsible. And when do you get paid? Asked Ken. On a weekly basis, said Jack, and plus commissions whenever I'm lucky enough to sell a car. The hours rolled lazily by, and close to noon, Ken was bashing his head against the table, and he was bored to tears doing paperwork. And after brainstorming an activity for his nephew, Ken came up with the idea he could go on patrol with one of the rookie cadets to show him the neighborhood. And he needed to pair up Ken with someone dull but enthusiastic, someone who would obey his nephew's orders without questioning him. Officer Siddhanta Adele, report for duty, said Ken. Siddhanta had ebony skin, a beefy beefcake body, brown hair, and intense copper eyes. He claimed to be Egyptian, but he was in fact born in the United States. As an orphan, he grew up in hundreds of foster homes, and he wasn't the most sociable. Siddhanta did a military salute as soon as he entered Gen's office. At ease, soldier, said Gen wearily. Why do they always send the weird ones to my department? You're going on a ride-along. My nephew's going to show you the extent of our jurisdiction. Yes, sir, said Siddhanta, with a face smile painted on his lips. Just get out of my sight and stop it with a stupid salute, said Gen. We are the police force, not the army. Siddhanta went over to Kane's workstation to inform him of the ride-along assignment, and the two went to the parking lot. Siddhanta frowned when he noticed that Kane sat in the passenger seat. Siddhanta realized that his true mission was to the chauffeur against Golden Child. You can drop me off at Camilo's house, and I will call you when I'm ready to return to my workstation, said Kane meekly. That accident really messed you up, didn't it? Asked Siddhanta, punching in the address for the nearest Camilo's house. I'm sorry I'm such a burden, said Kane sadly. It's fine, said Siddhanta, starting to drive. You don't need to apologize for something you cannot control. The two spent the rest of the ride in silence, and Kane went inside Camilo's house and he made his way towards the kitchen. Back when his grandpa was alive, the two would go once a week to Camilo's house to make food for the homeless. And since Kane was missing his grandpa, he decided to visit the place on a whim. And due to his officer's uniform, the homeless inside the eating area became tense when he walked into the room. And he received the same lukewarm reception in the kitchen area, and the moment he put it on an apron, all those assembled relaxed. The police officer wasn't there to arrest anyone. He took over the soup duties, and once it was seasoned to perfection, he served those waiting in line before serving a bowl of soup for himself. When one of the oldest residents tried it, the light of recognition fell upon his face. The man exclaimed with his toothless mouth, "You are Kain, Raphael's son. We haven't seen you in ages. How have you been? How's your grandpa?" "He died 3 years ago," said Kain, "and today's the anniversary of his death." "How did he die?" asked a very gossipy maiden. "Heart attack. He was angry that I was wasting my so-called potential working as a mechanic. And while he was arguing with my uncle and my grandma about my lack of a future, he started feeling ill, and then he dropped dead," said Kain dryly. "Grandpa had a very short fuse, and he would still be alive if he hadn't wasted so much energy being angry all the time." "Did you have potential, Kain?" asked Eugenia, sitting down beside him to gossip. "Fancy meeting you here." "Hi, stalker. Don't you have anything better to do than chase me all over Miami?" asked Kain. "My pride will not allow me to leave you alone," protested Eugenia. "Today you will be mine, and I have my Volkswagen parked outside, and after you finish your soup, you can come over to have dessert." "Ah, duty calls," said Kain, getting out to leave with Eugenia. "It was nice seeing you, Kain," said the homeless man. "Don't be a stranger," said the little old lady. Alright, so that's a good place to leave the chapter. Bye-bye.